Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hoge, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hoge, the author of Effortless English. Learn to speak English like a native. Commit to my VIP program. Join my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Speak English powerfully. Speak English fluently. Speak English effortlessly. Join, commit. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com. Hello. I'm at the usual park where I sit and record shows for you here in Osaka, Japan. It is November in Osaka, Japan, so it's a nice fall evening. Now, our last 2 years, at least, we've had quite warm falls. Autumn, fall, same thing, same season, but quite warm. Even today, during the day, I was wearing a short sleeve shirt, like a kind of a polo shirt. Probably during the day today, when the sun was out, blue sky, so clear skies, I could have worn shorts. So the pattern we have now, even in November, is that during the day it's still quite warm. And then as the sun starts to go down, so the sun is getting low now, it's still light, still daytime, but the sun is getting kind of low. It's behind most of the buildings now. So as the sun is dropping down, now it's getting cool. Not cold, but just cool. So now I've put on like a very light jacket and very comfortable. This is my wife's favorite kind of weather. She loves this weather where it's just a little bit cool. This kind of usual fall weather, and I like it too, of course. I think most people do. And really, these are my two favorite climates. Climate is kind of the weather pattern. My two favorite climates, again, probably most people are similar, are number one, the kind of Hawaii or Guam climate, where I just came from, Guam, and that's where it's warm, but not super hot. So shorts, t-shirt. During the day, maybe a little bit hot, just a little bit hot. And in the night, just nice and warm. So it's a little bit hot, so it feels great to get into the ocean and swim. But it's not, super hot where you're pouring sweat constantly. You can just wear shorts and a t-shirt all the time. That's great. That's the kind of tropical Pacific Island type weather. Hawaii, Guam, Saipan, those kind of places. And then the other kind of climate that's very, very nice is kind of a cool climate. So we might call that a warm climate, right? The warm island climate. And then this other kind of climate that is also very, very nice is a cool climate. It's a little bit cooler. It's kind of, the kind of weather where you wear maybe a long sleeve shirt or a light jacket. It's the kind of weather, the kind of climate we have in North America in the fall, in Japan also, in the fall, the autumn. So again, it's not cold. It's just a little cool. There's just a little coolness, just enough where you maybe need a long sleeve shirt or a light sweater or a light jacket. Sometimes, maybe in the middle of the day, it's warm enough for even just short sleeves. That's the kind of perfect zone, right, for human beings. Cool to warm. I personally don't mind hot weather. I kind of like hot summer weather. I don't mind it. But my wife really does not like it. She does not like hot, sweaty, humid weather. She really doesn't like it. The summers in Japan are like that. They're very hot and humid, and so you go outside, you're going to be sweating immediately and pouring sweat. She doesn't like that. It's the same kind of summer we have in most of North America too. It's the kind of weather Thailand has for a lot of the year. So she doesn't like that. For me, it's okay. I don't mind it. I can handle hot weather. But my wife doesn't like it. On the other hand, the other kind of extreme, I don't like cold weather, right? The winter cold weather. Now, my wife can handle cold weather. She doesn't mind it so much. The winter cold, coats and snow or sometimes, and she doesn't mind it too much, but I hate it. I hate that weather. Unless I'm snowboarding in the mountains, then I like it. It's fun because I'm doing something very active. But just most of the time in the winter, it's dark and depressing and cold, and I don't like it. Some of you on Twitter and Gab already sending me pictures of snow where you live. Oh my God, already in November. I'm still wearing golf shirts. Funny. Anyway, it's a beautiful time of year in Japan. Very nice. Probably my favorite time of year in Japan. And fall is certainly a great time to visit here, as I've mentioned before. Probably more people visit in the spring because of the famous sakura, the cherry blossoms. But I think that the fall time in Japan is even better. Just my personal preference. As I mentioned, Gab is back. I'm trying to get caught up, catching up, reading your comments to me on Gab. Some really good ones, actually. And some questions and some great comments. Let's start with one. I'm getting some political questions. Now, I'm not a political analyst, but people are asking me questions about the election in the United States. So I'll give you my quick opinion. It's just my personal opinion about the results of the election. The United States Congress, right there, we have three parts of our government. Most modern governments have this, right? You have judges, that's called the judiciary. You have the lawmakers in America, that's called Congress. And then you have the executive, right? They really, typically the most powerful, and that's the president in the United States. So President Donald Trump is a Republican, but he's not a normal Republican. This is important. This is important to understand about this election and in general in the United States. The Republican Party in America, there are kind of two kinds of Republicans. There are Trump Republicans, and then there are what we might call globalist Republicans. And the globalist Republicans are really against Trump Republicans. Trump Republicans are nationalist, right? They want America first. They want the politicians and the president to focus on America and taking care of America and Americans. They're tired of all the empire stuff. They're tired of attacking and interfering in other countries, and they're tired of the wars, and they're tired of all the globalist agenda. Right, well, we're seeing this in many different countries where people are sick of this globalist thing, where they're destroying the cultures of many different countries, where the local cultures and values are being destroyed. And that's happening in the United States, where these globalist forces, the Democrats are pretty much 100% globalist, anti-American. But there are a large number of Republicans who are also globalist and anti-American. So you have to understand this, because this is important for understanding this election and understanding what's happening with politics in America. Really, you will not understand what's happening if you just look at the parties, Republican and Democrat. That really is not accurate. It doesn't really show what's happening anymore. If you say, oh, the Republicans are winning or losing, or the Democrats are winning or losing, because it's not just that. It's really more of nationalists versus globalists. Now, the Democrats, like I said, they're 100% globalist, anti-American. They really hate America and American tradition and values. But then again, there are a large number, although they're getting weaker, but there's still a good number of Republicans who are also globalist. And really, they're all on the same side with the Democrats. So that's one side. The globalist Republicans and the Democrats are really all together. And then on the other side are the nationalists, who are we could call them the Trump Republicans, but I think a better name is the nationalist Republicans, because it's not just about Trump and Trump's personality. Trump won is not just because of his personality, but because so many people in America are sick of this globalist system. All right, this banking globalist system where these international bankers are controlling the economies all around the world and controlling our cultures and forcing all kinds of terrible stuff on our cultures that go against our values and our traditions. And they're doing this everywhere. This is why Bolsonaro won in Brazil. Same reason. He's also a nationalist. He's a Brazilian nationalist. In Italy, there's Salvini. He's an Italian nationalist. Orban is a Hungarian nationalist. So you're going to see these nationalists winning more and more because people are tired. People want to keep their culture, right? Italians want Italy to be Italian. Italy has a long and great and amazing history and culture. They want it to continue. They want it to continue to be Italian because it's their country, as it should be. Right? Hungarians want Hungarian culture. Poles want Poland to be Polish. They don't want it to be African or South American or American or Canadian or British. Right? They want Poland to be Polish. The Hungarians want to keep their culture. The Italians want to keep their culture. The Brazilians want Brazil to be Brazilian. And Americans want America to stay America, to be American. Right? We have our culture and our history and our values and our constitution and things, and we want to keep those. We don't want America to be Mexican. We don't hate Mexico. We want Mexico to be Mexican too, right? Just like as Mexicans do. Mexicans want Mexican culture, Mexican traditions. Right? They don't want to be dominated by the United States, and that which has happened in the past. And they don't want this globalist power forcing Mexico to be American or something else. So that's all it is. You can't trust the fake news media because the fake news is globalist. These are gigantic global companies that are controlling all of these huge TV stations, newspapers. All of the big media is globalist owned and controlled, including social media. And so they will always say that the nationalists are evil, even though the nationalists are popular and they just want to keep their own culture. That's all it is. You might guess I am also a nationalist. And see, in the fake news media, they'll try to say they will lie and they will say that the nationalists hate other countries. But of course, it's stupid. It's a lie. It's a complete lie. American nationalists don't hate other countries. In fact, we support nationalists in other countries. I'm an American nationalist. I want America to be American and to keep its American history and heritage and culture and traditions. At the same time, I hope and I pray that Japan will do the same. I don't want Japan to be American. I love Japan, and I appreciate Japan for its own unique culture and history and values. I would support Japanese nationalism. This is the lie. So that nationalists don't want to control other countries. Real nationalists, true nationalists, don't want to attack other countries. They don't want empire. In fact, they're against empire. It's the globalists who want the empire. It's the globalists who want to control many different countries, that want to make them all the same, mix all the people up, make everything the same, controlled by one big banking system. They want to push strangers and foreigners into all these different countries and mix everything up and create all these problems. So this will help you understand what is really happening. So the election, what happened? We have these were congressional elections, right? This was not a presidential election. This is not the same as the British system, the parliament system. Right, so Trump was not running. This was not a vote for or against Trump. Nobody was going against Trump. Trump is still in office definitely for 2 more years. That's the next presidential election is in 2 years. So this was only for Congress, the lawmakers. The American Congress has 2 parts. One is called House of Representatives, and the other is called the Senate. If you really want the government lesson, the Senate is based on the states. So there are 2 senators from each state. We have 50 states, so there are 100 senators. Right? So every state gets 2 senators. It doesn't matter if the state is small or large. Same number of senators for every state, 2. The House of Representatives is based on population. I can't remember the exact number of representatives now. Is it 200 something? I can't remember the exact number. Now, what's important about this is that these 2, we call them houses or 2 parts of Congress, have different powers. They have different powers. The Senate is really the most powerful one. The Senate, along with the president, decides on judges, for example. So the president will choose a judge that he wants, a new judge. And then the Senate has to approve. They have to say, yes, that's okay. We just had this happen before the election. There was a Supreme Court judge, the top judge, right? A big fight about this guy, and the guy Trump chose, and Trump won that one, but it was a big fight. That's the Senate. The House, the other one, they have no say. They have no power with judges. The House is really more focused on spending. Right? That's where their power is. The budget, the government budget, how much money gets spent on different projects and things. There are many other divisions, but those are probably the 2 big ones. The House is about the budget and money, and the Senate is about not only judges, but many different government officials. They approve them. Also, like treaties, foreign treaties, foreign, agreements, that kind of stuff. So what happened in this election? Well, it was kind of a mix. Before the election, the Republicans were the majority. They had the most people in both of them, the House and the Senate. But what you must understand is, this is why it's confusing, right? They were Republicans. However, many of those Republicans were not nationalist. They were actually anti-Trump Republicans. So if you really counted the number of nationalists in the Senate before the election, they were a smaller number. There were more globalist senators. Even though the Republicans, the party, was the biggest one, a lot of those Republicans were globalists, and they were really they were really working with the globalists and the Democrats. This is why Trump had a very tough time getting that last judge, because all the Democrats were against him, but also several of the globalist Republicans were going against him, and he had to fight and negotiate with them. So really, before the election, Trump did not, his nationalist group, did not have power in the Senate. It was really the globalists had the power. Over in the House of Representatives, that's the one with population, it was a similar situation. Again, the Republicans were the majority, so a lot of people think, well, there was the majority were Republicans, so Trump had the power. But actually, again, no, because a huge number of those Republicans were, again, globalist, and they were actually working with the Democrats. So once again, the nationalists, Trump's nationalists, did not have the power in the House before the election. So what about now? The election happened. What happened? Well, it's kind of a mixed result. If we can just look at the parties, that's what the news is going to tell you, just the parties. But again, the news is confusing you because they're not telling you the whole situation. You have to look deeper. Just the parties is not enough to look at. But with the parties, it looks like a mixed result. In the Senate, the Republicans increased. They got stronger, more. They have control. Now they have a very strong control of the Senate, even stronger control. In the House, the Republicans lost control. Now the Democrats have the control in the House. So this looks like, on the surface, it looks like a kind of, I don't know, like a draw, we would say, a tie, right? Trump's group the Republicans seem to have increased. They won in the Senate, and then they lost in the House, and so it's kind of a mixed result, it seems. Or you could look at it as, well, they kept their control of the Senate, but they lost control in the House, so you could even look at it as a small loss. It wasn't a huge loss, it was kind of a small one. The Democrats' control of the House is not strong. They won, but they won by a small amount, I think 11 or 12, which is not very much. However, that does not give us the full story. If we look at this, instead of looking at Republicans and Democrats, instead if you look at nationalists and globalists, well, then we get a bit of a different picture. Then what we see is, okay, before the election, the globalists controlled both. After the election, the nationalists now have a strong control of the Senate. Because not only the Republicans gained in the Senate, but even better for Trump, more importantly, is that several of the globalist Republicans left the Senate. They were replaced by nationalist Republicans. So the truth is, the nationalists gained a lot more in the Senate. The nationalists gained power in the Senate. They now control the Senate. Trump and his group, the nationalists, are now strongly in control of the Senate, and before they were not. So that's a big victory for them. That's an improvement. In the House, it was controlled by globalists before. Many of them were Republican. Now it's controlled by globalists still, but it's a majority of Democrats. In my opinion, it's about the same. I don't think it's very different. It's now Democrat globalists controlling the House instead of Republican globalists controlling the House. The result really is about the same. What did happen is the globalist Republicans lost in the House. The ones that did not support Trump, the ones that were against nationalism, they lost big time. Those were the Republicans that lost. The nationalist Republicans stayed strong. They did well. So basically what happened is that globalist Republicans were replaced by globalist Democrats. It's not really a big change. There are a few changes that are that are weaker for the nationalists and for Trump that will cause some problems. But overall, I'd say it was a small loss, and it has some benefits for Trump and his group because now at least everybody kind of sees that the House is clearly globalist. It's more clear who is who. In my opinion, overall, Trump is stronger after this election. It wasn't a huge win, but I'd say overall, the House is still globalist. It's about the same. A little weaker in the House, maybe, but not a big deal. But in the Senate, now the nationalists control it. They won the Senate. Before they did not have it, and now they do. So this is going to allow Trump to become much more aggressive. I think you will see this. In fact, it already started today, the day after the election. Trump is immediately becoming very aggressive. He's changing people in the government now because he knows he can get them approved. He knows he can get new people in his government that are stronger. Because remember, he needs the Senate to approve them, and now the nationalists control the Senate. So now you're going to see in Trump's government, include judges, other people in his government, you're probably going to see him change people and add a lot more strong, aggressive nationalists. I think you're going to see overall this is going to make Trump and the nationalists much more aggressive. And the globalists will respond. They're going to be attacking a lot more too, but they've been attacking a lot anyway. I don't think that will change. So that's my opinion of what happened. To those of you asking about American politics, I think even worldwide, we have to think of this nationalist versus globalist instead of just looking at political parties. Because in these political parties, a lot of these people, they're politicians, they're liars, they pretend, right? So we have a lot of Republicans in America that pretend they're kind of fake nationalists, but when you look at what they really believe and what they really do, not what they say, but what they do, you see, they're actually globalists. They're actually anti-American. So you can't trust the party label completely. Okay, moving on. Enough of politics. Oh, another thing from Gab. Thank you. A few of you responded to my questions about The Alchemist and Paulo Coelho's use of vocabulary in The Alchemist. Because you remember yesterday in the show I was talking a lot about this word desire, right? Because we're not reading the original book. Paulo Coelho's Brazilian. He wrote the original book in Portuguese. So the original book is written in Portuguese. We are reading the English translation. I don't know who did the translation. But I've mentioned a few times in the show that there are a few words, a few things I feel like I don't feel good about in The Alchemist, and I kind of asked the question, or had the idea that maybe the problem is the translation, because I get the feeling from the whole book. I think I understand clearly what Coelho's communicating, but then the vocabulary used is not quite correct. Specifically, the word desire. Right? The English word desire is used mostly in the English version. Well, guess what? I was right. I was correct, because several Brazilians have told me that, in fact, different words are used in the Portuguese version. The original Portuguese version does not only use the word desire. In the Portuguese version, Coelho's using 2 or 3 different words and phrases to describe this verb, not just desire. And the translation could be something like will, like willpower, right? Willpower, or intent. It means what you intend to do, what you plan to do, right? Or follow your heart, right? To follow your heart, right? That deep feeling and understanding and intuition in your heart. So all of these kind of words and phrases are used by Coelho in the Portuguese. And see, that's exactly what I thought. That's what I thought he was trying to say. So it's just a translation problem that we're finding here with The Alchemist, is that they're translating all of those words and phrases into English. They're just using the same one word, desire. Desire or want. These are the words that are being used in the English version. They're not good translation. It's a weak translation. They should be using words like willpower, intention, enthusiasm, intuition, follow your heart. These kinds of words and phrases are better translations of the Portuguese, what Coelho is really trying to communicate. So thank you to the Brazilians on Gab, specifically on Gab, who helped with this and confirmed. You agreed that yes, it's a translation issue, really. So I feel better about it. Actually, it makes me feel good knowing that I do understand now more what Coelho was really communicating. It just goes to show us, right? Vocabulary is important. This is a good lesson of how important vocabulary can be, right? Because the original vocabulary in Portuguese is much more specific, what we might call nuanced, right? Or subtle. S-U-B-T-L-E, subtle or nuanced. It means we're catching the little small emotional feeling and the very small, very specific meanings, right? We can have several words that have basically, generally the same meaning, but each one has a different flavor. I like that word sometimes. Each word can have a different flavor, like an emotional flavor, right? They give a slightly different feeling. Now this is called connotation. In the dictionary, you'll call this, linguists will call this connotation. Connotation. Right? We have denotation and connotation. I've talked about this before. With vocabulary words, meaning of a word, there are really two levels of meaning with all vocabulary. The denotation is the direct, general, basic meaning or definition. Denotation. When you look into the dictionary, you find the basic definition. That's the denotation, the denotation. But then there's also connotation. The connotation is the deeper meaning of the word, the flavor of the word, the feeling of the word, the smaller, more specific meanings of the word, how it's used, what situations, the indirect meaning or meanings of the word. All of these are connotation. Connotation. So I have good news and bad news for you. Here's the good news. The good news is, in most communication, everyday life, communicating in English, the denotation is the most important one. You just need the basic meaning of words. And in most situations, everyday normal situations, you just need to use the simplest, most direct word, such as desire. Right? Want or desire. If you want something, I have a desire for this, or I want this. That's great. Usually, in most situations, that's all you need to know. And you can be very fluent. You can be a great speaker of English using those basic, common, simple vocabulary words. And that's what I recommend, in fact. I recommend that most of the time you should do that. That's what I do. Most of the time I use the most simple word I can. I try to usually use the most common and simple vocabulary words. Even in my normal life, not just with you as a English learner, I do this with everybody. It's good communication. It's just good communication because it's clear, easily understood, and direct. Connotation becomes important, however, when we talk about deeper topics. This is where it's important. In most life topics, business, teaching, travel, everyday conversations, all that kind of stuff, basic, simple vocabulary is best. Even in most of, writing for school, most of the time that's best. But occasionally when we get into deeper topics, when we're talking about philosophy, religion, spirituality, deep meanings, these kind of things, well, then the connotation becomes more important, because these are advanced topics. These are very advanced topics. These are difficult topics to talk about, even in your own language sometimes, right? Even as a native speaker, using your own language, some of these topics are difficult to talk about or communicate, because we're talking about very small differences in meaning, right? And sometimes we're talking about very complicated ideas, or very subtle, S-U-B-T-L-E, subtle means, right? Very small, not obvious meanings, ideas. And when we get to this very advanced level, these advanced topics, these difficult topics, then we must understand the connotation of words. Then it becomes quite important. Right? The flavor of the words. Now this is the very advanced level. Don't worry about it right now. You don't really need to worry about it. You can just learn this as you go. You can learn this little by little. You'll learn a lot of this from reading. But someone who's translating a book from Portuguese to English, a professional translator, well, they should be a very advanced English speaker and writer. Right? That's necessary. If you're translating a book like The Alchemist, that is a parable that is focused on spiritual topics and philosophical topics, well then, that requires a very advanced level of English to understand these small differences. And in this case, the translator missed it. Right, because we have, if you think about it, like we have will, intent, desire, a calling. I talked about a calling, enthusiasm. These all have a kind of a basic same idea, something you want strongly, but each one has a little bit different feeling. Like desire is very general. It's just anything you want a lot. You can desire a cookie, okay? You can have a strong desire for sugar. You can have a sexual desire for a person. You can desire money. You can desire, wisdom. It's very general. That's why it's not the best word for the Alchemist, because he's talking about something more specific than desire. Better words, intention. Intention is it has the idea of wanting, but more than that, it has the idea of a plan. It's a more rational, right? A more intellectual or rational feeling. Intention, like you're thinking more clearly. It's a more rational, clear, calm word than desire. I mentioned a calling. Right? If you can have a calling in life. Now this has a more of a spiritual feeling. Right? It comes from like the idea that it's a calling from God or spirit or the universe. So it's something that you deeply want inside, maybe, that is very important, that you feel you must do, something you feel you must do. But it's not just a desire, it's not just anything you want. No, it has very strongly a feeling, a spiritual or religious, a deeply philosophical meaning, a calling. This is more what Coelho's talking about in The Alchemist, quite obviously. So my advice for you, learning these words, so we learn these words. Books are a great place to learn the connotations of words, the feelings, and to learn this more advanced vocabulary use. Because books, especially nonfiction books, philosophical books, books, literature, these books are often talking about more deep meaningful topics. And that's why books and audiobooks can be so powerful for vocabulary learning. On the other hand, for your normal, everyday fluency, speaking, communication, you don't need to worry about this too much. It's not something to worry about. Here's what I recommend. I recommend, just like children, you must master completely, 100%, totally master the basic, most common words and phrases and vocab first. You must become a total master. That's why I focus on it a lot. When you become a master of the most common vocab and words and phrases, an effortless master, then learning the advanced vocab, the connotations, it actually becomes much easier. My lessons, the mini stories teach you those phrases. You get some of the more advanced vocab too in my VIP program and other courses. But I especially am teaching you to master that super important core vocab. So you are an effortless, fluent communicator in English. Then all you need to do to go jump up to that final level is really just do a lot of reading, books and audiobooks. That's why I'm doing this book club for you. That's the purpose of our book club and these book club shows, is that you're learning some more advanced vocabulary. I'm encouraging you to read these books. I encourage you to get the audiobooks too. And I'm doing my best with the shows to explain some of this vocab and these ideas. This is the most enjoyable way and the most powerful way to increase that advanced vocabulary. So it's the 1-2 punch, okay? The one punch, the first punch is that core vocabulary, which that's what you should be using most of the time. And then the follow-up punch that gets you that final super advanced level is the more advanced vocab. That comes from books and audiobooks. Okay. We will do we'll probably finish the Alchemist this weekend. I think we will. Maybe, we'll see. I'll see how it goes. Maybe finish this weekend. If not, if it's still a little bit too long, then the following weekend we'll do it. I will be in Japan. I'll be doing shows for the next 2 weeks. I think I'll be here the next 2 weekends. And then after that, then I'm going hiking. So we've got 2 weekends to finish The Alchemist. So keep reading, finish that book, and join me live. We'll discuss and finish this very interesting book. Go to effortlessenglishclub.com and join my VIP program, because you commit to my VIP program, you speak English powerfully and fluently and confidently. You speak English effortlessly. You become an advanced, powerful communicator in English. You think in English. It's intuitive. It's effortless. You just commit to that VIP program month after month, each day just listening to the lessons. Every 2 weeks you get a new set of lessons, and you just keep going. Just keep going month after month, and you will get stronger and stronger, better and better, more powerful, more effortless. A truly advanced, powerful English speaker. Go and commit to my VIP program at effortlessenglishclub.com. Commit today at effortlessenglishclub.com. effortlessenglishclub.com.